Pain Train family, hello and welcome back. Happy New Year to everybody. I have missed you. Are you ready to start deciphering the last 10 episodes of the second season of To Your Eternity? I hope you said yes, because we're going there anyway. Hello and welcome back to Clockwork Dandy Noodles. I have missed you. I hope your new year is treating you well, my family. This is episode 11. Thank you so much for tuning back in. It does feel like we're really gearing up. I have a feeling this is going to be the last 10 episodes, which is we're going to be dealing with mostly a war. Exciting to see if this will be the first war that ends up resulting in a good result. Before we get going, make sure you guys are subscribed. As always, you're going to have your midway review and a seasonal wrap up at the end with a review of the next season. There might be some different pieces coming out in the year. I'm trialing a few different things. I also want to get a GeoGuessr game also recorded at some point, because I always had fun with those and they actually did okay because everyone would tune in, see how good or bad I was. Personally think I'm quite good at GeoGuessr. We'll see how that goes. But I have missed you. Let's get straight to it, because episode 11, it does cover some philosophical debates. And that's the thing with To Your Eternity. It's an anime that doesn't really shy away from dealing with the questions that make everybody's brains explode or melt. As a philosophy student, I've covered some of these. I always had philosophy at 9 o'clock in the morning, and you can imagine half my class is hungover. Dealing with things like metaphysics or the idea of fatalism at 9 in the morning, it's heavy, and we're going to go through some of them. I'm not here to go into the full details of philosophy with you. Most of you guys probably understand what we're talking about, what we're debating, and how you maybe feel about the topic. We are back in the largest city so far we have seen in To Your Eternity, called Renril. Fake boobs right now are planning a big old attack, and that is happening now in half a year. But we are informed that the Nokkus are a visual species, so they share information with each other via the idea of images. The first philosophical topic that comes up is when we learn that the Nokkus and narrator can't control minds. And we're going into the free will debate for a being its own thing, a mind being unconquerable. Free will, that you've got a choice, is skirting that. I think that also comes into debate a little bit later on, when you'll notice that the three people that Bon ends up gathering together have free will, or they believe they have free will. They are making a decision for themselves. Anything they choose is based on how they feel and what they believe. Now, whether you believe that everything is laid out before you and you have no choice, that's fatalism. If you believe you've got free will to make a decision, free will, obviously. It's an interesting little topic. I'm only going to brush on it because I don't think it is 100% that debate, but we are circling around it with the idea of a mind being its own thing. That's going to go into a bigger debate a little bit later on. We do get to go back to Kohaku simping pretty quickly. I don't know, something about him this episode just rubbed me up the wrong way. I get that he sees Fushi as saving him, but he can see that Fushi isn't just doing it for him. Kohaku this week is simping a little bit too hard for my liking. We're going to go to cover Bon and what Bon has been up to. Now, gathering troops. It seems that they kind of know he's alive, but they also don't. I'm not 100% sure if they know. They state that they want to follow Bon's will, and if he says yes, they will go ahead and do it. So whatever he says goes. But they thought he was dead, or the troops believed he's dead. So whether they're saying this because they go, well, we know that he trusted Fushi, therefore we'll follow it. Interesting, but I don't know if they're hinting at the fact that they kind of suspected he was alive anyway. But we do get to see the brother of the king being very inspirational this week and asking some very difficult questions. To be fair, only losing that one pretend guy walking out, that's not bad, and it's very impressive determination, because he essentially says you're going to give your life for the people that you love and you're not afraid to die. If you're scared of dying and you don't want to leave people behind, then you don't have to fight. I'm giving you a choice. Bon finding out that a unresolved business or unfinished business ends up keeping her soul tied is very similar to our beliefs, or at least the beliefs I've always grown up with in the UK, is ghosts. If you have unfinished business, or if you're angry, or if you want revenge, you can't pass over, settle, or be happy, or whatever. This is, again, a very difficult question, because whether we believe in ghosts, whether we believe in spirits or not, that is going to be something that is really important in this episode. Me, personally, I think as a kid, I used to really believe in ghosts. Like, I was 100% convinced. But as I've grown up, I'm more and more skeptical to the idea that ghosts really do exist. I'm right slap bang in the middle. Definitely as a kid, I fully believed that ghosts were a thing. Bon recognising his men because he was really close to them, allowing us to eventually have somebody who recognises Bon for Bon. We have the guy who decides that, actually, I know who you are, you know who I am, and I didn't even have to take my mask off, you know exactly who I am. But Bon is preparing these men for a fate worse than death, he says. A suicide mission. It's to be interesting to see how many of the casualties Fushi can actually keep down. At the moment, we don't know how many knockers are coming. We don't know what the damage is going to be. We don't actually know how many men are also countering as well. So if you've got a lot of people and you're really prepared, maybe we can keep the casualties down and maybe it won't be so bad. But I think it's more he be under more the worry and the guilt and the burden of sacrificing the men. And I only think he's only putting 3 of them forwards. I don't understand what the questions for the rest of the guys were, but I think they're just going to go ahead anyway and fight. Bond this week saying that the church is going to never forgive him, blah, blah, blah. It's because he's sacrificing lives for Fushi to take. I must admit, I wasn't overly impressed at his decision to do that. Sure, he's lost forms. He's got lots of forms left. I also don't know why we need to rely on new forms. It's a very interesting route that Bond has decided to take. I really did think he was going to go and get the girl that Fushi brought back and he was going to announce the truth to Fushi. Because even this week, we still don't have him telling the truth to Fushi and being like, yeah, you can bring people back. Me giving you these bodies isn't a bad thing because you can bring him back. He hasn't told him that part. I think if Fushi knew, I think he would be less angry at Bond. I think he would be more reluctant. Yes, he'd be reluctant, but I think he would be more likely to take the option of, yeah, okay, I will take your forms and then once I'm done, I'm going to bring you back. If he knew that, I don't think it would be weighing on him as much. Because right now, Fushi just thinks it's a final thing. He believes that's it, that it stays with him. He can't actually bring anyone back. I'm not that kind of being. That's not in my powers because he doesn't believe that he has those powers. The 3 people who apparently have the potential to become immortal, all people who have got some kind of link to Fushi. I did recognise one of them quite quickly. It's the whole value of flesh thing, which is the title of the episode, and how much do you value flesh as opposed to somebody's spirit, somebody's soul. It did feel when Bond was telling Fushi about this, he was advocating murder. I hope he's not advocating the fact that we're just going to kill these guys. That really is going into some territory that is very dark, Bond. I really hope we don't go there. I hope it's more, if they die, you then get their vessels, which hints that he believes that these men are all going to die and it's going to be a very bad battle. All 3 of these men are in the OP and all 3 of them have apparently interacted with Fushi. Former church guard is actually the guy we see aiding Fushi in the knocker attack. But if I was the princess and I saw only 5 people coming to protect my city, I would be a little tiny wee bit annoyed. As I said earlier, we don't know how many people are going to go into this fight. How many knockers are coming? Are they bringing every single knocker on the planet to this location? Sadly, the negotiations do fall through. And it's the next chunk of the episode, which is all about the idea of trust. Fushi states there is no trust. Nobody trusts each other. Nobody has a reason to trust anybody. The princess won't part with the blueprints because she believes that they could have too much control over the city. There could be more to it because I think next week we're actually going to get to talk to her a little bit. Fushi also realizes that he can't trust Bond, which is really, really sad. Without those blueprints, Fushi can't do a great deal to protect the city like he did with the boat. The princess right now is delaying and risking everybody's lives, but because she doesn't have a reason to trust these people. Fushi's trust in Bond is completely shaken this week because he's essentially been brought sacrificial pawns without being told you won't be killing these people. You'll be bringing them back. They'll be alive at the end. So the fallout sadly was inevitable right now because, of course, Fushi is angry. As he says, every time I use those forms, every time I use those bodies, I feel guilty. And you know that. Even knowing that, you've still brought me more people that I'm going to feel guilty using. Kohaku moving in pretty quickly when they fall out is pretty sad because he's not missing a beat and it feels creepy. It feels very stalkery. Kohaku this week, I don't know what it is. We've hit the halfway point and Kohaku's decided it's time to be fallout creepy. I'm going to be with you forever and ever and ever. I said, no, please stop, Kohaku. Just chill. I also now wonder because of that face when Fushi looks, he kind of does the half turn to look at Kohaku. Probably wager that Fushi doesn't really trust him either. Fushi ends up being very frustrated. He's unable to act, he's unable to do something. He can see what he needs to do to protect the city, but he's not being allowed to do that. And he sees it as wasting time. Even in that big speech in front of the princess about there being knockers probably already in the walls, it makes sense because they can do that. And right now, Fushi can't feel or sense the entire wall of the city, so he's not wrong. You are wasting time right now, but again, nobody trusts anybody. It's all just shakiness because nobody has a reason to trust anybody. With Fushi being irritated too and wanting to jump to act, it ends up winding up Mesa. Mesa is local to the place. You have to do things right. As he keeps stating, is that you must do things right. You're just going to anger the princess. It's going to be even worse if you sour relationships. Irritating to you, Fushi. You need to sit still and just chill. It does look a bit like Nine Man's Morris. Fushi just needs to calm down. And the point of this game also is very good because it should allow Fushi to learn strategy. Strategy isn't something that you can simply get from a book, but it's something that I think you sense. And when you're playing chess or when you're playing a game, that is when strategy starts to make itself known to you. Being able to see one step ahead, as much as people seem to hate on gaming, you will start improving your reflexes. You will start thinking very differently. How can I get through this situation? How can I make this situational level that I've failed over and over again? How can I pass this levels? It will be a good opportunity for Fushi to learn strategy and to learn to sit still. Let's go into another philosophical debate quickly with Bon and deeper beliefs of his is the idea that the body doesn't really make up a human. A human doesn't need a body to be eternal. It's the idea of ghosts again and the philosophical debate on whether or not we have a soul. Do you believe that once you die, that's it, you're dead? There's nothing more. We don't have a soul. There's not a separate part of us. Once you die, there's no ghost, no nothing. It's a very difficult topic, as I said before, once upon a time. If you spoke to young Becca, I'd be like, yeah, actually, I believe I might have a soul. Right now, I'm not so sure. I'm less likely to believe that there's anything waiting for us out there. And these are very heavy topics. Everyone is entitled to their own opinions, but it's a very difficult one because we have no proof either way. It's a big, heavy philosophical debate. To Eternity is no stranger on making us think like this. It's a very hard one to really conquer because it's something that you can really decide for yourself. Big kudos to Bon. He didn't at least lie to the three. He has told them exactly what's going to happen. Kai, he says, I am against what the Knockers are doing. Once they take my body, once they take and end me, and there's no eternity because that's what the Knockers want, it's game over. That should at least help Fushi feel not as bad in knowing that Kai doesn't want the Knockers to win. Kai is against what the Knockers are advocating, and we don't want human lives just to be snuffed out once they're dead and that's it, they are not eternal. It's interesting to see that Fushi is planning to rebuild the entire city. It does make me wonder if he's going to do the whole trick of having two cities and maybe luring them to another city. That would be interesting, but I don't think he's going to have the time to do so. He does end up slowly building the trust. Take things slow and you've got to build people's trust. Does do it. He starts to rebuild buildings and he starts to do things without taking any payment. It's okay, I don't want money or anything. Appeasing the princess, it's slow and it's frustrating that we have to do it and we probably don't have the time to mess around with this kind of stuff, but it's all we've got. Next week's episode is called Behind the Veil, and I think it means we're going to finally see the princess. I have a feeling we have seen her, and she is in the OP, pinkish reddish hair, and she's wearing another veil herself. But it does look like next week she is going to finally cave, give the blueprints over to our teams, and allowing them to start making some very big moves on protecting the city. It's a very good episode to come back with when it comes to Eternity. We're back. I'm happy I'm back. I'm glad that I am here talking to you guys again because you guys are always amazing to talk to. I would say that you might have a bit of competition. I've only had one video go up so far, and that is my Sugar Apple Fairy Tale video. But it has already broken the hundreds, which is normally what you guys do. So we'll have to see what happens. I am hopeful that this season that all 4 videos are going to perform better than last season. It's going to be a lot of work because each video is a lot, and I'm actually doing double the amount of work I did last season. I know you guys are awesome, and I can't wait to see your comments down below, and I am so happy that you are back. I hope your New Year and Christmas was a fantastic time for you and that you are relaxed, ready for a whole new anime season, a whole new anime year. Let's see what the anime year is going to bring. There has been some very good episodes already out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I will see you guys again soon. Bye bye guys.